Live. I am live. How about that? Good evening, everybody. I am Reverend Janet Reynolds. I am your psychic of the day, as I say, to put humor into the situation, or I am a spirit medium, intuitive counselor. Blue Feather is my guide, and he is the one that gives me all of the information. And when we do our readings, we are in the now, so we give insight and confirmation. The reason we're here tonight is hopefully to give you some information on how psychic are you. So this is phase 1 of how psychic are you, because there is 2-3 more classes or phases that we could discuss in time. Okay. Now, I want to say to you, I have been doing mediumship for a good 18 years, but I have been studying for a good 30 years. And it does take a lot of study. And the thing that is important more than anything is to know that we are all psychic, every one of us. We can go by our gut feelings, which is our instincts, which is the most important one, I feel. But I have learned that we are also considered clairvoyant, to where we see symbols. I have also been taught that we are clairaudience, to where we can hear words, and clairsentience, to where we can feel. Clairsavorance is to taste, and clairscent is to smell. So there are 5 clairs that all of us have. 1, 2 maybe, but maybe all 5. I have been fortunate to have all 4, not all 5. So I can see, hear, feel, and I go by what they call clear cognates. I just know. Okay. So I have learned quite a bit in the 30 years that I have been studying. And yes, I am an ordained minister. And that took me 2 years. And I got ordained at Harmony Metaphysical in Tampa. Harmony Metaphysical Church in Tampa, Florida. So let me just say this: if anybody has a question or wants to ask me anything, just dial 813-814-1601. So to get started, please just know Blue Feather is my guide. He has been with me for a long time, and he's the one that gives me all of my symbols, which is clairvoyance, words, once more, which is clairaudience, and clairsentience, my feelings. And then I'm sure that he has a lot to do with my claircognites, because there are a lot of times when I just know. And I am sure that there are many of you out there that just know. And to just give you an example of just knowing, many, many years ago, I am from DC, Maryland. So many years ago, my ex-husband and my 2 sons, we went to Miami, and my boys were out in the water, and I went out in the water with them. And just out of nowhere, I just got this feeling that I had been there. I just knew I was coming back. So it was a deja vu, or as I learned, claircognites, I just knew. So what I did is I did not say anything. I was very quiet about the whole episode. So when we left Miami and we went back to DC, I continued to work. And I just want you to know, 8 years later, I came back to Florida, but I came to Tampa to live, not Miami, which I'm glad I'm in Tampa. So, so that is, you just know. And that happened to me also as a child. I will tell you another story. As a child, when I used to live in Maryland, we used to go to the Queenstown Shopping Center, and I would have to walk. So in the process of my walking, I used to pass what they called the Queenstown apartments. I did not like those apartments. I did not understand why I did not like those apartments, but I soon found out. I just knew one day I was going to be there. And I just want you to know, when I was 24 years old, the first time that I separated from my boy's father, guess where I landed? I landed in the Queenstown apartments. And I just thought that was so unique. I really did. What I learned from that was the culture. I have never, ever had a problem with people being pink, yellow, blue. Never. I always took people for how they treated me. So Queenstown had an extreme mixture of cultures. And I made many friends the year that I lived there. And it really taught me the different kinds of people that are in this world. And I learned a lot from being there. But I knew I was going to be there. So I think that part of it was pretty exciting. Now, what I would like to say to you, I would like to give you a couple books that maybe you would be interested in reading. It's a book list for the psychic awareness, okay? So one of the books that I really, really highly recommend to you is You Are Psychic. And that book is by Pete A. Sanders. That's one book. I have several books here, I really do, but that one is really a good one. And then another one is So You Want to Be a Medium, and that's by Rose Vanden Anden, Eynden. It's 3 very good books, and I'll just give you one more, and that's called The History of Spiritualism. And that book is by Arthur Conan Doyle. And that's the last person that you would think that would write a spiritualist book. But he was very spiritual. He followed White Eagle and Grace, and she's from England. He learned a lot from her. He spoke with her about a lot of things, and his book is centered around spiritualism. So that is one thing to let you know, okay? All right, now, any questions, please call me at 813-814-1601. I can answer your question in a heartbeat. All right, so now what I have said to you is the 5 senses are clairvoyant, and that's to see symbols, clairaudience, which is to hear words, and to feel, which is clairsentience, and to taste, which is clairsavorance, and to smell, which is clear scent. You know, there's a lot of times when spirit is around us, and you can smell the cigarette or the cigar that they smoked when they're here. So that gives you an idea let's say your dad smoked a cigar, and one day you're just standing there in the kitchen, in the living room, and you can smell his cigar, then that tells you that his energy is around you, okay? So now the word psychic is a Greek word, okay? And it means soul. Psychic means your soul. And it can be applied to an individual considered claiming to have a sixth sense. Of course, we all have a sixth sense, or an ability which appears to be outside the possibilities of natural law. So I could say to you, well, what is natural law? Well, that would be a very heavy discussion, but all of us have the ability to, once more, see, hear, or feel, to taste or to smell, okay? Now, let me tell you one other thing. I am considered a spirit medium, and this reasoning is because I talk to the other side. Now, you know who the other side is, right? Okay. Those are my favorite people. Okay. And then to be psychic, sometimes necessarily, that doesn't mean that psychics talk to the other side. So being a spirit medium, I am able, with the help of Blue Feather, who is my spirit guide. He is also when I say my guide, he is my doorkeeper. He's the one that protects me, okay? So he's the one that allows family members and or friends to come in and give me messages, okay? And they are memories. So I get pictures, symbols, and or words. And I can give you a good example of that one. In the process of doing a reading for a client, and you always have to ask permission. When I'm doing readings, you forget, or I've been taught to forget my reading. But if something really special happens, I ask permission to remember that story so that I can speak it to teach others, just so that you know. So in one of my readings, I saw false teeth. So I didn't understand that. So I said to the girl, I see false teeth. And she laughed. And I said, it's your dad. I feel it is your dad here speaking to me. And she said, wow, the story there is I bought my mother's false teeth, but I did not buy my father's false teeth. And that was a joke amongst the both of us. And he got very upset with me because I didn't pay for his teeth. So what he was doing was coming through with the false teeth in his hands, and that was a memory to her, and she laughed. So that is part of being clairvoyant, okay? Now on to hear words, clairaudient, Blue Feather tells me sometimes out of the country. That is 4 words that I hear. I honestly hear those 4 words. And the first time I ever heard that, I was really surprised. But he said to me, out of the country. So now what that means to me is you're either from out of the country, or you're going out of the country, or somebody's coming in from out of the country. So that's another good thing, okay? So it's just one of the 3. So, and then to feel, of course, you know, you have your feelings every day. All of us have instincts. And it's very, very important that you follow your instincts. Your gut instincts tell you what is going on around you. So you sincerely need to feel it. Okay? Now, whew. This is very good for me tonight. I'm glad to be doing this. So I can thank Cece for that. And we are doing this through WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And it's a singles talk radio show. Okay, just so that you know. Now, once more, before I keep going, if you would like to ask me a question, please feel free to do that. And the phone number to call is 813-814-1601. Okay, now let me say this to you. The abilities of psychic can be in many forms of extrasensorial perception, such as ESP, telepathy, also psychometry, and remote viewing. Now, remote viewing is very, very interesting. And just so that you understand, remote viewing was used in the War of 1941. The government had many psychics there to help them and to see or understand what was going on in Germany, whatever information they could get, they used. Okay, so I did take a class in remote viewing, and it's a very unique, special form of deep meditation through numbers. And you see, they send you, those numbers can send you to different areas. It can be out of the country, or it can be within the country. And when I did remote viewing, and I do hope that all this makes sense to y'all, I was in Colorado, and I could see, oh, hold on, I have somebody calling. Hello. Mm-hmm. Okay, I have Cece on the line, and she wants to know, what does it mean? Okay, Cece, say it to me again so I can repeat it. Okay, what does it mean when you do have a deja vu and you know that you've been there before? Well, it's like I explained to you in the very, very beginning when I was in Miami, and I was out in that water. I knew I was coming back, but the deja vu is I have been here in a past life, and I was there in Miami in a past life. And when I went out into that water, I felt that. I could feel it. So it's due to a past, I could use the word memory, past memory, but it's something that you actually did in the life before the life that we are having now. Mm-hmm. Well, what I did was I stood there and I thought about it. I didn't understand it. That was the one thing, because I did, yes, believe in readings. I did, yes, believe in psychics and in mediums and spirit mediums. I didn't quite understand it. I just knew I'd been there, and I just knew I was coming back. So now when I moved here to Florida, I went to get a reading because that was something that I always believed in. My grandmother she was very clairvoyant. She was the Indian. She taught us never to be afraid of spirits, never to be afraid of ghosts. Okay. So I used to get readings in DC. So when I came here to Florida, I got a reading, and the woman who I got the reading from let me know that I was very psychic, I was very intuitive, and told me to learn through classes, enhance my abilities. And that's what I did. I took classes from her, which is Beverly Field, and I enhanced my abilities so that I could understand more of what I could see, hear, or feel. Did that make sense?
Yes. Do you ever feel like when you have a reading for someone, do you ever feel like maybe you can't give them what they're looking for?
No, Cece, I have never felt that. I feel that anything and everything that comes out of my mouth, as I could say it, is with the help of Blue Feather. And the biggest thing out of all of this is I trust what I hear and or say. And if for any reason that person doesn't believe what I have to say, I ask them to please just take the message and then work with it.
How did you originally connect with Blue Feather?
Oh my God, girl. That has been over 25 years ago when I first moved here. I've been here in Tampa for 40 years. And when I moved here and I started enhancing my abilities with Beverly Fields classes, I had a psychic friend, and we were driving down the road one day, and she told me Blue Feather was my guide. She told me. And she said that he says to tell me to be careful when I'm shaving my legs, okay? I didn't know what to say because it was that very morning when I was shaving my legs, I cut my leg. So I started thinking, oh my God, do they see us? Do they see us? Do they see everything that we do? So I sort of, I could say freaked out, but I trust him. She says that he's been around me for a long time. I did a very heavy meditation, and I learned that he was my father in a past life. I am 20% Cherokee, and the rest of me is Irish. I don't know which one is the worst, but he's Cherokee. He's from the Carolinas, and my background is from the Carolinas. So what I would say to you is not always, as a medium, can I tell the individual that I'm reading who their guide is. But what Spirit suggests is that we go into deep meditation and we ask, because we all have guides, every one of us. We have family members around us, we have guides around us, and we all have an Indian guide, male and or female. So you just need to ask them in meditation, and they will tell you. I was fortunate enough for my psychic friend to tell me that Blue Feather was my guide.
Very interesting.
I think so. And then I'll tell you another thing that happened. I had a client that I called on the phone, and this is after I learned about Blue Feather, because she wanted a reading. So I was talking to her on the phone. I was getting her address. And then when I hung up, I left. I went out to her apartment. When I went into her place, into her home to give her the reading, she had a card for me. And on that card or piece of paper was the most beautiful outline of Blue Feather's face. So she drew that face when she was speaking with me. And she was a white woman who was getting ready to go to North Carolina to be given a shaman's name, an Indian name, which is very, very unusual because she was a healer and she helped many. Okay, so she gave me that. I still have the original, and my business cards are done. And then when you go out to my webpage, which is bluefeather.net, you will see him immediately, if not sooner, when it comes up on the screen. He is a strong warrior. Oh, there it is right there. It just went right across the screen. So if you go out to bluefeather.net, you will see his face. So I find all of it so very, very interesting. I really do.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I thank you for calling me, girl. Bye. I love it. I really do. Okay. Okay, now telepathy was one way of being able to communicate. Okay, so just so that you know that. Well, ESP is what we said, telepathy. And then another way is psychometry. Psychometry is the ability to obtain information by psychic means while touching or handling an object. So it's the ability to feel and get certain psychic impressions by touching an object. You can touch anything sometimes and just really, really feel. Even a crystal. If you were to feel a crystal or stone, you know, stones do call you. So I would say to you that anytime that you pick up a stone, okay, that stone can give you energy and you can feel some sort of message from it. You really can. Someone, when you're doing a reading, can hand you a stone, can hand you something out of their purse. And if you feel it, you can feel something about that individual. And that is another part of being psychic, okay? Okay, now I have said to you, remote viewing is another way of learning a lot about being intuitive and insight. And that had a lot to do in the War of 1941. So it's an extension of awareness to another location and can be by an out-of-body experience. So then you say to me, what is an out-of-body experience? And that is when we are in very, very deep meditation. We can go out of our body and we can see many things. It's once more just a matter of being able to trust what you see and or what you hear. Okay. All right, so now does anybody else have a question? Because if you do, I know it works because Cece called me, 813-814-1601. I want you to know that I'm sitting in my kitchen and I'm looking outside. I have sliding glass doors and the sun is setting and it is beautiful. It is just beautiful night. It just got through pouring down rain and then now I guess it's finished and the light. I love to sit out on my back patio and watch the light. And I have put a couple pictures out on Facebook just so that you know from the other night. So that was a good thing because it was just really beautiful. So now to continue. The consciousness, that's part of our abilities, okay? The brain is a physical organ acting as a receiver of sensory input, which is like a radio translating signals into sound. So do not confuse it with consciousness. Okay? Consciousness is formless mental energy and is therefore capable of expanding beyond the limits of the physical form to link up with what is sometimes called the universal consciousness or collective consciousness. Now, this sounds very serious or very deep, but it's important to know that it's your consciousness that helps you with your psychic abilities. And this mental energy is thought to be an accumulation of human experience, thoughts, and memories that we can tap into involuntarily. And how do we do that? We do that through very deep meditation. So meditation, once more, is very, very important, but what we see and or hear is important also. It's just a matter of trusting. So anybody have a question, you can call me and ask me. I hope so far everything that I'm telling you isn't too heavy and that you understand what I am trying to say. It's all very easy, but of course I've been doing it for 30 years. Or I could say to you, I've been studying for 30 years. I've been doing psychic readings for a good 18 years. So that's important too. And you know, when you're doing readings and you watch people's expressions, their face, it's really interesting. It really is, because you know, they sit there and they look at you like, you know, hey, you're really retarded. And that's not the case. Eventually, whatever I have to say comes true. It really does. And that's why we say that blue feather gives us insight and confirmation to what's going on around us. Okay, so now once more we say, what is the unconscious? Psychics and those with a more spiritual worldview make a slight but significant distinction between the subconscious and the unconscious minds. They believe that the former contains the impulses, the instincts, the images, the ideas, the memories, and the fears that reside just below the surface of our everyday waking awareness, okay? The unconscious is the immortal aspect of our personality, our essence or our higher self, which is the source of all of our ideas, intuition, and our inspirations. The key to psychic awareness is establishing a strong connection with the unconscious mind, which has chosen to use a body as a vehicle for learning through experience. What is our best teacher if not experience? And it's in one life after another. So this takes us to meditation, because this is how we get to that place. So I would just say to you, if ever that when you do go into meditation, which is very, very important, I have learned so much from meditation that you don't have any need to feel anxious. It is an inner journey that creates inner peace, and it attains a sense of detachment from the body. You do, in all honesty, when you are in deep meditation, you do detach from your body. You really do. And it's also an expansion of consciousness that reveals a hidden aspect to our nature beyond the purely physical. So now, did all of that make sense to you, I hope? I feel that the bottom line to all of this, what I am trying to teach you or say to you, is it's so very important to meditate. But not only that, it is very, very important that you trust when you are meditating. You trust what you see and or hear. And I will give you a good story, which is true, that I meditated many, many years ago. And in the process of being deep down, really down, my grandmother came through. And I said to her, because I really had a deep love for my grandmother, because she just was such an ornery person. And she was the Indian, and she's the one that taught us never to be afraid of a spirit. She used to talk to us about windows rattling, knocks on the door, and chains going up and down the steps. And in the process of her teaching us that, she always let us know that it was spirit. It was spirit's way of talking to us, and it wasn't anything to be afraid of. So in the meditation, I asked her, could I please see her? I so badly wanted to see her spirit. I really did. I wanted to see her ghost. And I want y'all to know, because when I moved here to Florida, she passed away right after I moved here. And she taught us that your spirit roams for 3 days. So for 3 days, my grandmother did roam. And she came from DC all the way to Florida. She let me know she was there. And the way that she did that is the night that she passed over, when I got up, I had a 45-pound mirror on the floor, and it was not broken. And it was on 100-pound weights. And I just looked at that mirror sitting there, not broke. And I just could not comprehend that. Next thing you know, the phone rings, and it's my aunt calling me to let me know that my grandmother had passed over. And I'm standing there on the phone looking at the mirror, and I was saying, oh my God, my grandmother's here. And I got a little flustered, but it was okay, because I knew she was just talking to me and letting me know that she had left. But in the meditation, I asked her, I want to see your spirit. And you know what she told me? She told me no. It was a straight out no. And that's how my grandmother did things. She was very definite about everything she did. It was either a yes and or a no. So I said, oh, okay. So then I said to her in the meditation, I said, well, will I ever have grandchildren? And her answer to me was, your daughter will be the only one to give you grandchildren. Well, here I am, and it has been once more 40 years, and my daughter has given me 2 grandchildren, and my sons have not. So see, meditations are very important, because they talk to us and tell us what can be and or what cannot be. So I would say to you to meditate as much as you can, and then ask them for help, or ask them a question, because they will definitely give us an answer. I really did want to see her though, but I guess she had her reasons. The good thing is the mirror didn't break, and then I went home to her funeral. And then when I came back, I went into the bathroom, and there was another picture on the floor, only that one broke. And I knew she did that. So I go call my aunt, and I tell my aunt, I say, you know, Rita, Mama is still here. And she told me, don't worry about it, Janet. Just go to bed, okay? So my daughter was 4 years, going on 5 years old. And I said to my aunt, okay, no worries. So I picked my daughter up. I go upstairs, I go to bed, but I put my daughter in the bed with me, and I turn on every light in the house. because I did not know what my grandmother was going to do. And I was, of course, a little bit afraid. So, so the next morning I called my aunt to let her know I was okay, that my grandmother left me alone. So they do come to see us. They come to see us in dreams. You can feel their energy. You can smell their perfume. You can sometimes even go so far as taste a certain vegetable, fruit in your mouth that was something that they themselves like to eat, or even that you like to eat in their presence. So just know that it's a beautiful thing, that that they're always there. They're always around us. Just know that. You just have to trust. So see, there's an awful lot to being psychic or being a spirit medium, but it's all, and it can be very easy. And what I want to do before I leave y'all, I want to let you know, I have a story here on verbal warning is what it's called. Okay, so I want to tell you about somebody else who was just as psychic. Several times during the London Blitz, the Prime Minister, the British Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, was saved by an inner voice which warned him of danger. On one occasion, Churchill heard a voice say, "Stop," as he was about to climb into the car on the left side, which was being held open for him by his driver. So he walked around to the other side, leaving his driver surprised and confused. During their journey, so he walked around to the other side, yes. During their journey, a bomb exploded next to the car, piercing the rear left side with shrapnel. Churchill would have been killed had he been sitting in his usual seat. So it was a good thing that he walked around to the other side. And then once more, on another occasion, he left a dinner party to warn his kitchen staff to go down to the shelter. A few minutes later, a bomb scored a direct hit on the kitchen. Churchill didn't say whether he believed the voice was his unconscious or his guardian angel. He was just grateful to have heard it in time. And that's a true story, guys. So just know that. So if Winston Churchill can be psychic, we can be too. All you have to do is listen. And then, but the biggest thing, or the other biggest thing, is you have to trust. Now, I will say to you one more time, does anybody have a question? Cece, do you have another question? Call me if you do. All right, so now let's do one more thing. I'm going to give you one or two questions to think about for next week. Not next week, the week after. August 15th, I will have my second phase to this show. So I will say to you, just listen to what I have to say here for 1 minute, and slowly I'll say it, and then you write it down. And then what the question is do you sometimes know in advance that a friend or family member is going to ring you or visit unexpectedly? How many times has it been that you hear the phone ring and you know who that person is? You know, I make jokes with my son. He gets upset with me because I tell him I knew it was him. And then I have to sort of say to him, well, I knew by the ring, but don't you sometimes just know? Think about that, write that down. And then next week, not next week, but August the 15th, you can call me at 813-814-1601 and tell me what you think about that question. If ever you did have someone come or call unexpectedly, but you knew it, okay? And then I'm going to give you one more. Have you ever found yourself in a situation that seems strangely familiar, and yet you are sure that you haven't experienced it before? What is that? That's a deja vu, right? So I'm sure if you sit and you think about it, I bet you could think about where you had been or what you had done, but that you knew about it before you did it. Okay, does all that make sense to you, I hope? All right, now I will say, because we are, what do we got? About 10, well, not even 10 minutes, maybe about 10 minutes left to our show here. I will do one more thing. I will give you one more question, okay? Have you ever seen a ghost or sensed an unseen presence? What did I just get through talking to you all about? My grandmother. What was she doing? She was in that room with me. She really was. She was in that house with me, let me say that. And it was really a weird experience when I went home and I was at the graveyard when they were burying her. I ran off. I ran away. I really did, because it was so emotional for me. And my mother had died when I was 2 years old. So my mother's grave was there also. And it's almost like I could just feel all of that. And it sort of, I guess, scared me. But I guess it was more emotionally that it upset me. And I ran away. So after it was all finished, I went back. I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was too much. I probably could handle it today because I'm older. And experience does teach us. So I would say to y'all, please, if y'all can get a couple books and read them, that would be really a good thing. And I'm going to tell you one more book to get. And this one is I love more than any of them. And it is the book of spirit communication. And this book is written by Raymond Buckland. And he is very, very British. He really is. But in his book of spirit communication, you read a story, or we could say you read a chapter. And after you read that chapter, you have an exercise that you have to do. And I feel that the fact that it has an exercise in it, that it helps you to understand better what you had just got through reading. Because you can always, when it asks you questions in the chapter, you can always go back to the book, to the chapter that you had read, and you can get your answers. Does that make sense to everybody, I hope? So now, if there is anything I can do for any of y'all, please let me know. You can call me at 813-814-1601 anytime during the week if you'd like to have a reading. Then I'll also let you know that I will be up in Sun City next week at the Chamber of Commerce doing readings up there, if that's something that you would like to do. I like to give readings in person. You can come to my house or I can do it by phone. So either way, it's whatever you would like to do. I try to work around all my clients And the fact that I've been doing readings for so long, I get a lot of repeated business, and I always love new business. And so just give me a holler or give me a call, whichever way you want to go. And I think that I have just about given y'all all the information that I can, but I will say one more thing. I'll tell you one more thing since we have a couple minutes. What is a medium? A medium is one whose organism is very sensitive to vibrations from the spirit world, and through whose instrumentally intelligence in that world, they are able to convey messages and produce the phenomena of spiritualism or spirit mediumship, or once more channeling. And channeling is something else that we'll be able to talk about perhaps next week. There is channeling, which is when we're doing readings, spirit does channel through us and gives us the messages to give to you. And then we have what they call trance channeling. And trance channeling I learned in England at the Arthur Findlay College, and I can channel Blue Feather. That means he, and I say it with humor, he jumps in me. He jumps into me, and my voice will change, and he will talk to you within me. Does that make sense? Hopefully. And my voice definitely does change, and he will give you information, and he will answer questions. So that tells you that there is a difference between just channeling and trance channeling. So I hope I haven't confused you too much. I hope with whatever information I have given you, you'll be able to take it with you, and you can work it out and save questions for me for the next time, please. And you just have a good evening, and I hope to see you again.